Here I am in non-Thailand, and there you are thinking, let's live in Thailand. Thai relationships are an exciting mix of the traditional and contemporary, distilled over 1,000 years of Buddhism. In this week's video, you'll get an introduction to friendships, work relationships, love, marriage, family, and LGBTQ life. You'll also learn some Thai legal concepts regarding marriage, children, inheritance, and same-sex relationships. And of course, when you watch this video to the end, you'll see what Nieow, the Thai genie in a jar, is up to today. Let's live in Thailand. One of the first things you'll do when you live in Thailand is make new friends. Of course, you'll make expat friends. You already know how to do that. You know, many expats surround themselves only with other expats. Some even only with their own nationals. I guess they're just here for the weather. But when meeting Thai people, they struggle to find anything in common. Oh, Thais don't understand half of what I say. They never watched Seinfeld or Doctor Who. Plus, they act so strange. Yep, that's what they think at first. The way people interact in a different culture can sometimes be mysterious or frustrating. If you don't understand the cultural differences, it can be hard to make friends. Here are some differences to consider in Thailand. There's language and communication. People from different cultures often understand each other's words, but not necessarily their meaning. I overheard an interaction on the street the other day when a friendly Thai asked a passing expat, "Where are you going?" "None of your business." Our friend understands the words, "Where are you going?" but he didn't understand that it's really just a phrase in Thai like, "How are you?" Another difference can be sharing. Thai friends share a lot. Food, clothes, vehicles, even money. You can set polite limits on what you're willing to share. It won't be unexpected, but do expect to share. Next is respect. Respect is a key part of relationships here. Your Thai friends will expect you to respect their family, religion, age, and even their social status. This expectation will lessen the closer you become, but starting off by being respectful is a good way to help friendship ripen. Friendships also ripen in Thailand when you hang out over food, drink, and entertainment, especially over food. It's not necessary to keep up with how your Thai friends eat, especially how spicy, but join in a meal when invited if you can. And drinking? Unlike in some cultures, Thai people don't expect you to keep up with their alcohol consumption. Drinking soft drinks or juice while everyone else is drinking whiskey is not frowned upon. It's not impolite to refuse a refill either. Entertainment? Join in when you're invited. Go home when you've had enough. Don't do anything you're not comfortable doing, but do go outside your box when you can. Thai people won't look down on you for setting limits, and it's never impolite. But you will score points by trying new things. Next week's video will cover more about language, sharing, respect, and other aspects of Thai culture, so don't miss it. You can use what you learned there to build better relationships with Thai friends. If you're working in Thailand, you'll certainly make new friends at work, and work's the place where your relationship skills will be tested the most. You'll do fine if you develop habits and behaviors that build good relationships with your bosses, co-workers, and subordinates. Thai work culture values respect, teamwork, and a healthy work-life balance. An important habit to cultivate at work is being respectful. Just like with social friends, respect is an important part of the office here. It's doubly true for you as an expat. Sadly, working expats have a reputation for being bullying, aggressive, and all business. Characteristics Thais find disrespectful. One way to show respect at work that's often missed by expats is by dressing conservatively. Shorts and a t-shirt might be okay in Silicon Valley, But in Thailand, it just shows disrespect for the people you're working with. You'll quickly find out that harmonious relationships in the Thai office come before business. But a bewildering aspect of respect at work is that when you start out, the people you work with won't seem to be interested in chit-chat. Is that confusing? Yes, it is. Just understand that your coworkers want to avoid subjects that might offend you, all the while expecting you to engage in polite conversation before getting down to business. So make small talk. Weather and traffic are safe topics in Thailand. Your backache, the noisy neighbor, and any politics are not. Now that you've made some social friends and work friends, you might be ready to look for something more. Ah, mon amour! We haven't seen you for a little while. Welcome back. You can browse oodles of videos on how to meet romantic friends in Thailand, so I'll skip that. And I won't give relationship advice, when and how to do what, with whom, and where. For that, you'll have to go to my OnlyFans page. There's the link. Instead, let's explore the Thai context for love, romance, and marriage. As foreigners, we're used to religious marriage. Yet in Buddhism, there is no marriage. No marriage ceremony, no specific marriage vows, no standard blessing at the temple. Ceremonies that do exist have been cobbled together from animist village and Western traditions. Also, we take civil marriage for granted. After all, the first marriage license in the West was issued about 1,000 years ago. In Thailand, 1912. Yeah, Thai people got married before 1912, but marriage was a contract between families, not a matter for religion or government. Among Pudi, or those of high status, marriage was arranged for social, economic, or procreative reasons, and not forged in the flames of love and romance. The wife's family paid a dowry in those days, and the law protected that investment in case of divorce. The wife's family got the dowry back. Nowadays, relationships are based on fulfilling both partners' needs. Affection, sex, social support, caring for children, and finances are all valid motivations. As you become close to someone, cultural differences can keep you from clearly discerning why you are interested in them or why they are interested in you. That can cause a lot of anxiety. It's probably a good practice wherever you live to expect your romantic relationship to be different from what you've experienced in the past or what you imagine from movies and novels. But it's especially important when you need to work at understanding each other's motivations through the lens of cultural values. In the book of Genesis, God told men to leave their families to cleave to their wives. Not that kind of cleaving. In Thailand, when you're in a relationship, it's a relationship with your partner and their family. Often the bond between your beloved and their family will seem stronger than their bond to you. In some ways that is true, but it doesn't diminish the relationship you do have. As a consequence, you'll be expected to care for your beloved and their family in whatever way you can. That's not without benefit. Your beloved's family will take care of you too. If you get sick or when you get old, you won't end up in some sterile room drooling into your lap as you stare out the blank window. Before it gets to that, they help you take care of the kids, the pets, the garden, your laundry, and many things you'd rather they just leave alone. What to do? Modify your attitude. They're not being pushy, they're doing their job. If you take anything away from this section, it should be that cultural differences between you and your partner mean adjustment on both sides. Now, movies and especially social media here are causing traditional and modern thinking about relationships to blur. Gender equality, relationship variations, and independence from the extended family are on the rise. You may find things less strange than you expect. There are special considerations for same-sex relationships in Thailand. Let's take a look. Homosexuality has a long history here, like everywhere else. There are ancient temples with murals depicting same-sex relationships. The most famous are in the Ordination Hall of Wat Prasing in Chiang Mai and right here in Nan in Wat Pu Min. Ancient Thai agricultural rites included sexual rituals for fertility that had homosexual components. Sexuality was traditionally seen as a norm, not an aberration. That's not to say that homosexuality wasn't sometimes frowned on, but it was at least accommodated. The early 20th century saw some negative attention to same-sex relationships, inspired by an influx of Christian missionaries and recycled residues of English law. Fortunately, Thai government and society seemed to be able to see through ulterior motives of invaders, and homosexual acts were decriminalized in 1956. In modern Thailand, the reality of life is that same-sex relationships, both Thai with Thai and Thai with foreigner, are commonplace. You're as likely to find same-sex couples in small rural villages as in big cities. 21st century Thai youth treat same-sex relationships as a normal option for anyone so inclined. Flirting is even genderless. Smiling at a man or a woman you find attractive is fine if you're polite. It'll never get you a punch in the nose like it would in some other countries. Why would it? It's a compliment. It should be noted, though, that Thais of Chinese descent sometimes cling to traditional Chinese views, so are often the least accepting of family members with same-sex partners. And whether gay or straight, public displays of affection are frowned upon in Thailand. Although Thailand is a safe and comfortable place for same-sex couples, same-sex relationships are not yet legally recognized. I'll talk about that a bit later in this video. First, let's look at some other family law topics. For opposite-sex couples, getting married in Thailand is easy. They go to the district office with their IDs and a couple of witnesses. Foreigners follow the same procedure, with some preliminaries. Before you register, you'll need to have an affirmation of freedom to marry from your home country embassy in Thailand to verify that you're not already married elsewhere. You'll need written parental consent if your partner is 17 to 19 years old, and you might also choose to make a prenuptial agreement. For a prenup in Thailand to be legal, it can only cover matters of personal and common property. It needs 2 witnesses, and it must get attached to the marriage register at the district office on the day of registration. Now that you're married, before you buy land, the foreign spouse must sign a declaration waiving future rights over the property and saying that funds used to buy the property are the Thai spouse's, whether that's really the case or not. The land does not become common property. You learned about leasehold and usufruct in week 6 video on buying property. You can look to those for protection. Just like getting married, divorce in Thailand can be simple. Not that simple. If there is mutual consent, you can just make another visit to the district office. If there is not mutual consent, you end up in family court. Whichever way it goes, if you are getting divorced, you should at least visit a lawyer to ensure that whatever you do preserves your rights with respect to property and children. Thai law in this area is very complicated. If you become divorced or separated, you'll need to agree on child custody in writing. If you are not married and somehow have a child, parental rights are granted only to the mother. There are ways for a father to claim rights, but you'll need to consult a lawyer. Finally, with respect to children, adoption is governed by different laws if you are foreign or Thai. One difference is that for a foreigner to adopt, the foreigner must have a legal spouse. Adoptions by foreigners are all handled through the Department of Social Development. Speaking of children gets me thinking about inheritance. Inheritance in Thailand is complicated. It has to take into account the complex structure of many families. That's the legal order of succession in Thailand in the absence of a will. You might notice that the surviving spouse is last on that list. A surviving spouse does get to keep half of any common property before distribution of the estate, but that can be small consolation. Or, did you somehow inherit property? As you learned in week 6, you cannot own land, so you cannot inherit it. If someone, even your spouse, leaves you land in a will, you'll have a year to sell it. The land stays in probate until it's sold. Let's say you own a condominium in your name and leave it to your foreign heirs. They likewise need to sell it within a year. Why? Because they're not the ones who brought in the money from overseas. There are some minor exceptions for foreign heirs residing in Thailand, but the conditions to qualify are very complicated. Get a lawyer. If you own a condominium in a company name, you can transfer the shares of the company in the will, but control of the company will not transfer. For instance, signature rights. That requires cooperation of the other shareholders who must register your heir as a valid signatory. Lesson? Be serious about choosing your other shareholders, since, although you may be protected during your life, that protection may evaporate on your passing. Thai property law modernized suddenly in 2018 when the Thai Court of Appeals recognized, for the purpose of property law, a same-sex civil partnership that was registered abroad. Now, same-sex couples married abroad have the same status as other married couples with respect to property. With the exception of the 2018 court ruling, same-sex relationships are not yet legally recognized in Thailand. That's not due to any real opposition to recognizing them. Mostly it's due to a lack of perceived urgency, compounded by disparities in rights between men and women that still exist in Thai law. Recognizing same-sex relationships will create interesting conflicts in law for Thai citizens and especially for Thai foreign relationships. Recognition is inevitable. There are a number of bills passing through the legislature every session, but implementing the change is complicated. In the meantime, if you have a committed same-sex partner, it's extra important that you have a will. You won't find yourself anywhere on that inheritance chart. And there is no common property to get half of. Protect your land purchases with a usufruct. And don't forget that same-sex couples can have problems making medical decisions on each other's behalf. Hospitals can legally refuse to abide by any medical powers of attorney. Hospitals often want a relative to confirm decisions by anyone authorized by such a document. They often have their own form you can use for naming a medical decision maker, so fill one out at each nearby hospital before you need it. Plus, make a living will. Living wills made according to Thai law are recognized as legal, and hospitals generally adhere to them. You've got a lot of work ahead of you building your new relationships. My hope is that this video gave you some insight into relationships in Thailand and how Thai law applies to them. Next week, we'll look closer at Thai culture so you have the tools you'll need to adapt to a culture and society very different from your own. Now, let's check in with Nieow, the Thai genie in a jar. Nieow, ทำอะไรอยู่? Yes, I asked the insurance company if they'll pay for your tummy tuck. I'm sorry they said that it's not covered. Well, you'll either have to pay for it yourself or maybe be a little bit less sticky rice. Sharing, respect. Well, at least I know he was listening to the video. I share a lot of things with you, and of course I respect you. But I draw my line at paying for a tummy tuck. Get you a bigger jar, but I thought this was a magic jar. I don't know of any magic jar stores. I'm not being difficult. It's just if you want me to buy you a new jar, you're going to have to tell me where to buy it. Anyway, let's talk about this later. Let's next week have something more interesting to talk with our friends about. Yes, all right. My name is Yai, and I love living in Thailand. I hope you will too. Sawadee krap. What he really should respect is his waistline.